Hello, elegant listeners. Welcome back to Go, my favorite sports team, and it's your favorite podcast, and I'm your favorite host, Markiplier, joined by your second favorite host, Tyler.
I renounced the second favorite host because I'm
third.
clearly the most favorite host of Go, my favorite sports team.
One's already taken.
Without me, this podcast is nothing.
You let me go with the intro, so I claimed first most favorite.
Oh, well, I think the audience determines that, not either of us. And I would probably lose that in favoritism because my head pin on the store is not sold out and yours is.
How much other is sold out on there?
A lot, actually. I can tell you we are down to one pendant left.
Pendant?
We are down to, I think, only 10 sticker sheets, which if they buy enough, they get it for free.
Yeah, it's a shirt and a sweater and then some pins and a sticker.
Yeah, there are 2 Tyler pins left, 17 wink wink nod nod pins. If you guys don't get that reference, we actually called a friend in that episode. 14 nuance pins, which beyond me how that's still around. And then we have 5 of the hoodies, 20 stickers, 1 pendant, and 28 of the t-shirts, varying between black and red.
Well, go to gmfst.com to check out all those that are left. New stuff is coming soon.
Buy it all. Get rid of it.
If you want. It would only make us really happy.
It would really make us extremely joyous. And then we can release the mini foam fingers eventually that have been waiting in the wings.
Well, this episode is going to be about something different. I don't have any jacuzzis for this week, but I do have some groundbreaking news.
Earthquakes are affecting the entire world, and volcanoes are becoming active again.
The bedrock of our understanding of the WNBA is changing forever, and the volcano of new stardom is rising up from the depth of geothermal collegiate basketball.
It can't happen.
It is happening.
Okay. What is happening?
Caitlin Clark?
Yeah.
Old news.
What?
Old.
Impossible.
Out of here.
Impossible.
Nope. Get out of here.
She's the queen of basketball.
No, not anymore. You know why?
Why?
Because there's another rising star that seems to show even more promise than Caitlin Clark.
It's Caitlin Clark robot version.
It's Robo Clark.
MECHA-CLARK.
Nope, it is not. It is someone by the name of Juju Watkins.
Juju Watkins.
Have you heard of someone named Juju Watkins?
They're in college basketball now.
Yes, college basketball right now.
They
USC
play...
sophomore Juju Watkins scored 29 points in the Big Ten championship game, which was a 72-67 loss to UCLA. So admittedly, not, this is starting off great.
So losing match, but
bringing her 2-season total to 1,684 points, surpassing Caitlin Clark's 1,662 points across her first 2 college seasons.
Oh, so she's done more in her first 2 college seasons than Caitlin Clark
Yes,
did.
exactly 22 points more. This makes Watkins second only to Kelsey Mitchell, 1,762, for the most points by any player in their first 2 seasons. So that's another, Caitlin Clark didn't even have the record most, just had very high.
Yeah, Kelsey Mitchell, I believe, had the most points in their career until Caitlin Clark beat it.
Yeah, an all-time record is in sight for Watkins, who is now eyeing Caitlin Clark's NCAA career scoring record. They set a historic all-time mark of 3,951 points by her senior year, surpassing all previous men's and women's Division I records. So that actually more than doubling the first 2 years by the senior year, 3,951 points. With the NCAA tournament ahead, Watkins has a chance to close in on that record, especially since she'll likely play more college games than Clark did.
She also, her 3-point career percentage is 33%. 1/3 of the shots she takes from behind the arc, she makes.
Damn, that's pretty good.
She has scored 20 or more points in 34 of her 42 career games and is the only USC player to score 40-plus at the Galen Center.
After Clark graduated and began her WNBA career last year, Watkins emerged as a new face of women's college basketball. The 19-year-old acknowledged that breaking Clark's scoring record is in the back of her mind, though she humbly noted, quote, "I wish I played like her," admiring Clark's apparently superior three-point shooting.
There might be some other parts to her game that she's working on improving to emulate Clark, because one of the things that Clark is great at, too, is being a facilitator. and drawing as much attention to then feed her teammates the ball.
Yeah.
So her impact on the game might be greater at the current point in time as Juju Watkins continues to develop her ever star sprouting career.
That's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure.
2 more years of college basketball to play. Still to go. Who knows where that could turn out. All right. There is more Caitlin Clark news, by the way.
Okay. More Clark. MECHA-CLARK. Built. Ready to go.
A whole fleet of MECHA-CLARKS ready to take WNBA by
The
storm.
new NBA team, the Clarks.
We've got tall Clark, long Clark,
Beefy Clark.
thick Clark.
Butter Clark.
Anyway, March 17th, 2025, a day that will live in infamy. There's a video released. ESPN released a video debate titled, quote, is Caitlin Clark the greatest of all time in college basketball? Only to conclude that Clark is not among the top 5 women's college players ever. This article is titled Fan Backlash After ESPN Snubs Clark in All-Time Ranking. The panel, Sam Ravik, Ari Chambers, and Alexa Philippou, agreed Clark's lack of a national championship was the sole factor keeping her out of the top 5, despite her status as the sport's all-time leading scorer and the 2-time National Player of the Year.
Because it takes one player to win a championship in a team sport, let me tell you.
The only strike against Caitlin Clark is that she has not won a national championship. I don't care how many records she has. Anyway, they ultimately ranked Breonna Stewart, Candace Parker, Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, and Cheryl Miller, apologize for any mispronunciations, as the top 5 college player, leaving Clark as a glaring omission. Anyway, this led to social media outcry.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the fact that she has fundamentally changed the game of women's basketball, become the face of women's basketball in a lot of ways, spurring it to new heights of viewership and attendance. And not to mention the fact that she is single-handedly raising attendance in all games she plays in the WNBA and making the WNBA on the map for advertisers.
But top 5 player? Boo. You know, I think it's clear. I know all of these other players' names by name. So
I will say Kelsey Mitchell, great college basketball player.
Now, that being said, this is an obvious ploy to get engagement. By saying something that is obviously not true, drives a lot of outcry, drives a lot of people talking about it. It's not an uncommon tactic.
They're aiming for that Deshaun Watson engagement ring. They really want to stand out and showcase how rich and fancy they are.
It happens. It really does. I'm not about the ring. I don't get that at all, but whatever. It happens for people that are like, I'm going to be contrarian so that people jump out and then I can make content about it. People will make content about the content I made. It's how the drama cycle happens on YouTube.
It's why stitching exists on TikTok.
Exactly.
And other YouTube even added like a stitch fundamental thing for their shorts.
I didn't know that.
It's not really stitch. It's like, I forget what they call it. Something different. It's a little different.
Anyway, that's, well, actually I have some more, but we can't be all about it.
No, it can't be all about the news. This episode, we have topics.
Yeah.
We have extremely important topics. Horrible, horrendous, awful topics.
Okay.
Things that are historic, hilarious, but awful in hindsight.
I can go back to the Clayton.
No, we're moving forward. Today, we talk about weird historical events in the world of animal sports. All right, we've talked about animal sports in the past, right?
Talking about anal sports in the past.
We have talked about anal sports. Butt stuff, as H often remembers, blaring on his loudspeaker next to a dump truck. But we've talked about animal sports in the past. For example, recently we talked about skijoring. We've also talked about the Iditarod and dog sled racing. We've talked about hobby horsing, which clearly is an animal sport, even though there's no animals involved. But each of their sports have their own share of danger, controversy, and so much more. But there are many truly baffling animal sports and downright dangerous ones that have existed out there and continue to exist today. One of which we will never condone is big game hunting. Not a sport, horrible, awful, don't do it. But today, we get to wrangle with a variety of animal sports that range from inadvisable at most to most deadly and life-altering. Because death is a life-altering act.
Definitely. It's one of the most, actually.
So to kick it all off, Mark, there are many animals on the face of the earth. On land. We're staying on land.
Where?
On the ground.
Where on land?
On land across the world.
Here?
Land.
There's no other animals in this room, are there?
There sure are. There's probably an ant or a bug or...
That's not an animal.
Don't insects fall under animals?
If you go back far enough in the brand umbrella of animal kingdom, I suppose maybe, but...
Yeah, suck it!
They're a different phylum.
You're right. They're not mammals. Now, but speed is key here, all right? Land animals. Of the land animals, which animal is the fastest?
The meteor beetle.
Is that an animal?
Beetles that fall from the sky and turn into meteors.
Yes, the space beetle that becomes a meteor.
I'll tell you what was the fastest thing on this planet. It's whatever bee happened to land on that manhole cover that they put on top of the nuke.
Yeah.
That bee. Or one of the frogs that are hanging on to like the space shuttle launch.
All right, we're talking about under their own power. Fastest animal on Earth.
Cheetah.
Are you sure?
Well, I said meteor beetle, and you didn't accept that one, so I got to go with the boring answer.
Cheetah is correct.
Yeah, I thought so.
Now,
is it because there's a picture of a cheetah right there?
Shh, quit cheating. So cheetah racing is a sport. So cheetah racing sounds like a great sport, right?
Yeah,
just racing cheetahs against cheetahs.
Yeah, sure.
It makes sense. Because they're known to be lightning fast and are literally built for speed over thousands of years of evolution. And in 1936, Englishman Archer Leggett saw how incredible cheetahs were and teamed up with Gander Dower. These are very
great names.
Classic
Gander,
names. Gander,
hardly know her.
Dower, yeah.
Dower, hardly know her.
Hardly know her. Who was a world traveler and a big fan of cheetahs. They decided to liven up the races at Archer's Greyhound Racetrack with cheetah versus greyhound races.
Wow, I wonder who won.
There's an interesting thing that exists in the world of nature. How two animals that are distinctly different act very distinctly differently. Think about a cat. Cats tend to be pretty, I do what I want when I want to do it. Dogs sort of like, ball, let me go get it.
Sure.
You can, and imagine how this potentially went wrong. Also considering that cheetahs like to eat prey that run away from them. Greyhounds do too, but cheetahs are a little bit bigger than greyhounds. Anyway, Gander brought 12 domesticated cheetahs to the UK and advertised the first race after months of training the cheetahs. Don't worry, no greyhounds died.
Okay, I thought that was where this was going. I was pretty sure.
I was alluding to it.
Okay.
Tugging on emotions and then pulling it back.
Okay, you lying.
Yes.
You lied.
Yes. I alluded to a lie.
It wasn't an allusion to a lie. It was grabbing me by the nose and dragging me to the lie.
And then going, oh, not really. Anyway, the races were held on December 11th, 1937, and a large crowd attended the race, excited to see these exotic animals race their beloved greyhounds. First race, greyhounds versus a cheetah. Can probably guess which animal won, but let's find out from a reporter spectating the race describing what he saw. Helen raced against two greyhounds, but not appearing like their company a great deal, for she left them far behind and made them look slow. She covered the 355 yards in 15.86 seconds, easily a track record, and at a speed of 55 miles per hour.
Wow, I didn't know that people in the UK would talk like that.
Helen raced against two greyhounds, but did not appear to be like their company a great deal, for she left them far behind and made them look slow. She covered the 355 yards in 15.86 seconds, easily a track record, and at a speed of 55 miles per hour. Is that better?
No, that was not better.
There, it's read it really fast.
What kind of spell did you just cast on me?
The one of speed. Now, the top speed of a greyhound is about 45 miles per hour. Cheetahs can get up to around 80 miles per hour. And it only takes a cheetah about 3 seconds to get to 60 miles per hour, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. The crowd was thrilled as most people had never seen a cheetah in person. And they were amazed at how fast Helen had taken off when the gate was lifted. But the next race is when trouble began. It was meant to be a race between two cheetahs named James and Gussie on a track with hurdles for the big cats to jump over. However, when it began, they instead ignored these obstacles, leapt over the track barrier, and attacked the electronic hare that they were supposed to chase because it looked like prey.
Well, they were supposed to chase it.
And they caught it. They just ate it.
Well, there you go.
They outsmarted the electronic track. You see, the problem with racing cheetahs is they are like cats, because they are cats. And while they were technically trained, they're still wild animals. And unlike greyhounds, cheetah will stop pursuing prey if it's clear another cat is in the lead, because they're like, well, I'm not going to get it. They're going to get it first. It also didn't feel the need to finish the race like greyhounds were trained to do. And an Australian reporter that saw a race said, unlike the greyhound, a cheetah is attracted solely to the bait and cares nothing for racing glory. There are a few more races, but crowds dwindled.
You said these were domesticated. Had they been at all trained to race?
As, you know, they grabbed them in...
They got random but trained.
12 domesticated cheetahs. They brought 12. They were domesticated wherever they were.
But they weren't trained to race at all.
No.
So why would they assume that would go well?
You know, they were domesticated. They figured they could just let them do their thing.
Regular cats are domesticated. If I put it in a racetrack, it's not going to race.
You never know. Little fuzzball over there could just start leaping down the track. Chasing after his ball of yarn.
I know. When I had a cat, I would chuck that tennis ball across the field.
You would just go and get it.
Yep. Every time.
He loved it.
Yep. Till it didn't.
You know, it's just like cats. They just decide when it's time to play and when it's not. And if they're getting pet too much, they'll bite you. And then if you're not petting them, they'll bite you. And then when you are doing what they want, they'll bite you, and then you'll let go, and then they'll be mad, and then they'll bite you some more.
When you're away, they think about biting you and practice biting you.
And then when you arrive home, they just pounce on you and attack you. Honestly, or they poop on your floor.
Honestly, most of the cats I've had have been such sweethearts. I've only had 2, really, but, you know, they're such sweethearts.
All the cats that I have had also were, but Oscar, my cat growing up, got hit by a car and had brain damage, so he couldn't land on his feet, but he loved everything.
He got the Goku treatment. His head became super sweet and dumb.
Yes. And then Felix, my other cat, was super skittish, never attacked or anything, but would only come to my mom when she was laying on the couch, and so it was really hard for us to be able to pet him, because anytime my mom wasn't around, he was gone. You never find him. The only time you'd get lucky to find him is if you staked out the litter box, and then maybe he might not poop there and he'll poop on the floor somewhere else.
Oh, great. Good.
So we did not do that. But ultimately, the focus went back to greyhound racing because spectators got tired of watching cheetahs just wander aimlessly around the track, not giving a crap about the electronic hare. Well, sometimes they'd curl up and nap and look cute.
That's true.
Lovely pictures of cheetah next to greyhound in their starting gates. And then we even have the cheetah who decided not to race because he was like, what's the point?
Yeah, what is the point?
I don't need it. I don't need anything. I'm fed. I don't need to hunt anything.
What is the ad below this trying to... Wait, the Audi S4 Quattro, nothing to prove. What does that have to do with this?
It just was part of the newspaper post or website or whatever this was clipped from. I don't know why it's involved in the picture, but it is.
I'm trying to understand how this was an ad.
Blur it all out. We're not sponsored.
I don't think we have to worry about Audi sponsoring
No,
us.
but we're trying to get you the new Chevy electric truck.
Hey, Chevy, listen. Hey, actually, no, I moved on. Prusa, I love you. Hey, resin printers. Hey gears. Call me.
All right, ready? You ready for sport number 2?
No.
It's time to move on, Mark. The cats and the dogs still love you, but it's time to move on. What does palintrekken make you think of?
Trekking with a pal.
It's a pretty solid guess. It's Dutch. Not Danish like Ethan might have you know when we did a show on their stage, but it's Dutch.
Okay. You go out into the woods with your best friend, who is a dog.
No, but it involves eels.
How does it involve eels?
It's the sport of eel pulling. It's a very short-lived sport.
Eel pulling?
Eel pulling or eel grabbing. So eel pulling was a sport very popular in the late long time ago's. It was also known as eel pulling or eel drawing. It's an old Amsterdam game. So what they would do is they take this rope, stretch it across the canal, all right? And a live eel was tied to that rope, and players would have a teammate help sail their little boat as they tried to grab the eel and pull it out of the rope. Now, needless to say, eels are very slippery and thus very difficult to get a hold of, especially when they're live and squirming, because these are live eels being tied to this rope.
Sure, yeah.
So they had to sail underneath and try and grab the slippery eel with the risk of ending up in the water.
Oh, God.
But eventually, this got banned. It was like lottery winning. There would be a prize at the end. It was a traditional Dutch game. They'd float and stir and try and yank eel from it. The winner would often receive a hefty sum, with some winners' pots being as much as 6 guilders, which was a full week's wage of work at the time. Now, the unfortunate thing is this sport eventually started a riot.
As they usually do.
So, needless to say, this was not very nice to the eel. Most eels would be dead. Oftentimes,
In a
it would
riot?
No, before the game was ended because of the riot. Most of the time, the eels would die and eventually somebody would grab it, but oftentimes they would be consumed and eaten. Sometimes not so much.
What a horrible day for that eel.
So, on July 25th, 1886, a large crowd of people had gathered to witness the game of now outlawed eel grabbing on Lindengraat in Amsterdam. 4 officers from a nearby police station set out to put a stop to the spectacle, entering one of the houses from which the rope had been tied up, and cut it down. Now, the Dutch are generally friendly people.
Well, you haven't met the Dutch I've met.
Oh. You never want to get on their bad side. What Dutch have you met that I haven't met?
What do you mean? I have my own life. I'm meeting Dutch people all the time, and they're assholes. Every one of them. I keep giving them a chance. They keep being a dick.
All right. Sorry.
Oh, you Dutch out there, you got to prove me wrong. You show me one friendly Dutch person. I'll wait.
So at this time,
I don't know where this came from.
I don't know.
I feel like I'm being contrarian for no reason.
It's fine. I'll continue this story. Now, this sport was outlawed in the late 1880s due to the fact that it was considered cruel public entertainment because it was cruel to the eel, which I support. But they still wanted to do it anyway because
support being cruel
gambling.
to eels?
I'm for stopping the sport.
You're pro eel grabbing.
I'm not eel grabbing. Negative. No eel grabbing.
Anti?
That's the word.
There
I was
we go.
looking for.
Okay.
On July 25th, they had crowded. Now, at this point, it was illegal. But this huge crowd that had gathered to watch this awesome eel grabbing thing, because the canal hadn't been fully filled and it was very interesting and fun time for them, weren't real happy about them ending their game.
Why?
Before it could even get started, before anyone ever won.
Are they crazy?
And as soon as the police exited the house, one of the disgruntled spectators started beating the officers with an umbrella.
Oh, wait, why?
Well, that's what they had. A few hours later, this turned into a full-blown riot with police using their batons to beat past the masses, while the masses throwed rocks and other projectiles at the police. And as nightfall came, the temperature dropped, and so did the tempers of the rioters because it got real cold and nobody wanted to be outside fighting anymore.
Of course, yeah.
But at dawn came the rioters, now invigorated with dizzy, returned to riot at the police station
Why not?
in protest of their illegal game of eel grabbing being stopped. Needless to say, military was mobilized, and it led to a pretty big confrontation. And needless to say, eel is never allowed to be a part of sport anymore.
Any sports?
This eel sport not allowed.
Okay.
Illegal. You cannot do eel pulling anymore.
mean,
No more pollen trekking.
I can think of so
Paline trekking.
many eel-related sports that wouldn't exist today if they banned eel sports. Hockey, for all I know.
No, that was squid. Squid hockey was a thing. We talked about that at one point.
Guess I'll never know what goes on in hockey. I guess I'll never know.
It's because the eels were outlawed. Now, the sport remained outlawed, and they even destroyed the canal that was so famous for hosting it. It was filled in and became a road. And so hopefully this eel pulling sport will remain in the past because we don't want any more riots. And here's a great picture of them doing some eel pulling.
Oh, they are... It's tied to a rope. I must have missed that part of that.
I did say that. Yeah.
I didn't,
You can see the
I didn't
lineup of the boats.
picture it as much. Now that I see an image of it, it is just a clothesline with an eel attached to it. And boats go under by. That is cruel.
And they try to grab the eel. Hopefully they cooked them and enjoyed them for dinner at some point because eel is tasty from what I hear. Eel sauce on sushi. A lot of people like that. Now for the most famous one, and the one that's most intriguing to me, because it still continues somewhat today. The sport is called ferret legging.
Where you pull a ferret's leg until it explodes.
Those legs are like tiny. They're like this big.
It doesn't take a lot.
No. Try again. Change.
Ferret what?
Legging.
Where you you take two ferrets, you squeeze their mouths open, shove a foot in one, shove a foot in the other, you got ferret leggings.
No, change.
Where you drink a magical potion made of ferret essence. Don't ask where the essence comes from. That turns your legs only into a ferret. You become a ferret, a mer ferret.
A mer ferret. I like that one. That one's funny.
Okay.
But no.
That one's funny. The other one's not funny. Thanks, buddy.
The other ones were more torturous. That's just milking for the essence, and then you magically become a mer ferret.
Yeah, milking some mysterious essence. Yeah.
No. This sport is much more bizarre. It's a sport that's been around for centuries and was once popular among coal miners in Yorkshire, England. Yorkshire.
Uh-huh.
It wouldn't be too surprising that it is likely originated as a pub sport from tipsy tavern dwellers challenging each other to see how long they can keep an angry ferret in their pants.
Oh.
Needless to say, the way this sport works, first of all, I must show you, those are ferret teeth. They have claws. And this is them readying themselves for the ferret legging competition.
This really seems contingent on the ferret that you get.
They're not that small. They're pretty big.
Honestly, this feels like unless you get a particularly vicious ferret, it wouldn't be too terrible.
The crazier thing is, apparently, ferrets like to be recognized as being like small wiener dogs, but with much sharper teeth, and have been called piranhas on legs and the shark of the land.
Yep.
Because their main function was to scare the bejesus out of rabbits. The known ferret pants king, the king of ferret legging, Reg Meller, paced across his tiny Yorkshire miner's cottage as he explained the rules of the English sport, and he came to dominate rather than late in life. "Aye, lad," said the 72-year-old champion. "No jock straps allowed, no underpants, nothing whatsoever. It's no good with tight trousers, mind you. Little tiny bastards have to be able to move around inside there from ankle to ankle." So how this sport works...
Oh, I know how it works.
We have a glorious video to watch.
They put a GoPro on a ferret and they send it down someone's pants.
No underpants, no jock straps, nothing. Just pants.
All right.
What it involves is, in fact, taking a live ferret who is fully fanged, fully clawed, and fully...
Did you just kiss the camera?
Apparently.
Just like yourself. Sealing the bottom of your trousers, pulling them open at the top, sticking the head of the ferret in your mouth to instigate fight or flight reflex, and dropping it down your trousers.
So those are the rules. You must stick the head in its mouth, make it get all angry and flustered before you shove it in your pants.
In your mouth.
In your mouth.
Just if as many vectors of disease as you could possibly instigate in yourself with this ferret. And I'm not saying the ferret's not clean. Ferrets are probably either a fastidiously clean animal or horrendously dirty. It's one or the two.
They are noted to be smelly.
So, stick it in your mouth, stick it on your cob, stick it down your pants, shit out a log.
Clearly, this sport was prefaced by ferret sucking.
It sure was, wasn't it?
Yep, where you'd see how long you could suck on a ferret's head until it decided to bite your tongue off.
All right, cool. Where did it all go wrong?
Needless to say, the sport was especially popular in the 1970s, but competitions still took place in the 2010s. The current world record for ferret legging was set in 2010 by Frank Bartlett, who managed to keep the ferrets, sounds like more than one, inside their pants for 5 hours and 30 minutes while raising 1,000 pounds for the Whittington Community First Responders.
At that point, they would have just fallen asleep.
Well, it only makes sense that he'd raise money for the first responders because they're the ones that are treating his wounds after all of this. Maybe there's rabies involved.
I'm sorry?
Rabies.
Maybe there's rabies.
Rabies involved. I was speaking it in the classic old English tone.
Yep.
But yeah, seal your ankles of your pants, make the ferret angry, shove it in your pants, see how long you can stand there and take it. No underwear, nothing. So fully clawed, full fangs, and in some competitions, competitors are not even allowed to wear underwear, and neither the ferret nor the competitor can be drunk during the competition. So You need to have your wherewithal. No numbing those nerves. Luckily, it's died out in popularity in the last couple decades, and hopefully will be left as an ill-advised sport of the past, but you never know. Somebody might like the idea of sticking an angry ferret in their pants.
I don't. And I judge everyone that does.
All right, Mark. We're on to our last one.
Okay.
This one involves no longer land animals, but animals of the sea.
The eel was an animal of the sea.
No, it was in the land. It was they held on a rope. It's the snake of the sea. You're right. You're right. This involves another animal of the ocean.
All right. Yep.
This one originated in the United States.
Go on. Is
And
that
it
supposed to
really
make you feel...
fulfills people's hentai dreams. Because it's octopus wrestling. Now, we've covered a bunch of different variations of wrestling in the past, but the next sport takes wrestling to a whole new dangerous level. In the 1960s, in Tacoma, Washington, all around the coastal U.S., diving was all the rage.
Pause. I know people say that about hentai. I've been around the internet. I've been back and forth, all kinds around. Where is it? You would think that it would be a lot more prevalent, the octopus thing. I don't see it. Where is this happening? It's like when I said CNC on Distractable and everyone was like, oh, it's a sex thing. And it's like, no, that's a computer numerical controlled something.
What is CNC as a sex thing? Cock and cock action?
Cock and cock. No, it's consensual non-consent.
Oh. I have heard of that, but I've never heard of the acronym.
And in no way would I ever think, if I'm thinking CNC, it's a machine. It's a CNC mill. It's a CNC lathe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
CNC. That's what it is. Everyone says octopus and hentai. Where the fuck is it? I've seen plenty of porn. I've never seen any. I've never seen any.
In all fairness, I haven't seen it, but a friend of mine got a book from Japan that was entirely hentai tentacle. Something about there was like legal reasons you couldn't show a penis.
I've seen like the ancient
and so they used,
drawings of it. I've seen like old drawings of it. And I'm sure it exists in like a more recent fashion. It's just not appearing where I am looking, apparently. And I'm not even saying I'm not looking. I'm not looking for it. But I've seen a lot of shit.
You've traveled the world.
I've seen Go See.
You've seen the beyond.
I've now seen Two Girls in One Cup.
Oh, I still have refused to watch that.
Don't watch it.
I stay safe.
Don't watch it. People were shocked when I was like, I've never seen it before. People were actually surprised. I'm like, why would I have seen it? I've seen some gross shit. Some gross shit on the internet. I intentionally did not see that because why would I want to see that?
I know what it is. I don't need to watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's gross. The only one I've seen is like South Park did a skit on it at one point. But anyway, it exists. Tentacle porn exists. But apparently it exists because of regulations around showing a naked penis.
Obscene.
Yeah. Now, we've covered all types of wrestling. Various types. But this is a whole new level, and it takes place in Washington when diving's the rage. Freediver spearfisher extraordinaire Gary Keffler and the dive team he was a part of, the Mud Sharks, began to hold various diving competitions off the beach of Tacoma. But they were looking for a new challenge. They've been diving, getting rocks, getting sand, getting all kinds of underwater things to prove their depth. But you know what else lives in the water near the beaches that are home? The giant Pacific octopus, which usually is around 14 feet long and weigh up to 110 pounds, though there have been record-breaking giant Pacific octopi that were 30 feet long and weigh around 600 pounds. Now, the rules of this sport of octopus wrestling, as they dive down and retrieve the octopus, and whoever has the biggest octopus that they wrestle to the surface wins, as a part of a team, they required to have 8 arms, and as many as 250 suckers on each tentacle.
Required?
It says they have. Oh, never mind. Octopuses have these.
If you want to be an octopus, you gotta have 8 arms. No, you 7-arm losers out there?
That means you've had sex and you haven't grown your other one back.
Right, because one's a penis.
Yeah.
Or no, it's not that it's a penis.
It
fills with sperm and then they rip it off and hand it to the female.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember the BBC documentary properly.
On octopus reproduction.
It's weird. It's no wonder people think that octopi are aliens, because they just are so goddamn weird. Like, look at this shit. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
So weird. No wonder Call of Cthulhu, all that stuff is all about the octopi because they're too smart. I do not like the idea of eating an octopus.
No. I have had octopus before. I believe we had it at Korean barbecue because your mom wanted it.
Oh, yeah, no, my mom, it's a Korean thing where they order octopi, and I get the cultural thing, but I still am like, nah, I don't like it.
I also, because they seem to be so intelligent creatures, there's something about it that it's like, I don't like eating it.
No, that's it for me. Yeah. And I know some people are like, oh, you're hypocritical. I was like, yeah, I know cows are smart.
Yeah, he'll eat humans, but he won't eat octopus. Hypocritical. You know?
I won't eat human, even in a survival situation.
That's fair. I that was a part of a joke. I was all right.
Too late. You need to be funnier.
Damn it! I need to get my funny roids.
Do they make those?
I don't know.
Do they? Wow. All right. Cool.
Laughing gas. That's what it is.
No, that just makes you laugh. If there were roids to beef up your funny muscle.
What would you determine is the muscle in the body that's the funny muscle?
The funny muscle? Sorry, I just saw the picture of this fox. I was just on Reddit from that octopus picture. I was like, what else I got?
So, now, Gary and the Mud Sharks took a look at the fearsome creatures that are these octopi and decided wrestling them would make a great sport. One, to begin with, because they're pretty long and sticky with their suction cups. And in the early 1960s, they started to hold the World Octopus Wrestling Championships, though most competitors were from the Pacific Northwest, meaning that it wasn't really world. But there were two competitions, one for free diving to get the octopi, and one with scuba equipment. Free diving, by the way, has no breathing respirators or anything like that. At most, they have a snorkel. And by 1963, it was a televised event with over 100 divers and thousands of in-person spectators watching the championships. The sport was short-lived, though, and the popularity of the sport died out by the mid-1960s, with it officially having a death date in 1976 when a law was passed by the state of Washington that made harassment or capture of an octopi without the intent of eating it illegal. Mm-hmm. During the championship, the whole purpose of it is they'd have to find an octopus and then figure out a way to coerce it to the surface. Now, octopi aren't fighters. Mm-hmm. They run. And so the whole thing was they'd chase down an octopus and wrestle it to get it up to the surface. Uh-huh. But in order for that to happen after enough time, octopi didn't want to go to that area because they kept getting squeezed and pulled to the surface and killed, that they then brought in octopi caught from other areas and let them go on the beach to make it a sporting competition and chase them into the water to try and get the biggest one.
Great.
Horrible, awful sport.
It sounds horrible. I hate it.
Yep. And these are sports that should never exist again, but are weird anecdotes of history of what people like to do for fun. And there was a lot of awful things about it and some really stupid.
Yeah. They're too smart.
I know. They're actually just like really cool looking too, like the way they camouflage.
Yeah. Oh man, they're crazy. They're insane. But no, I'm not about it. I don't even care if they taste good. It's just like
I've had it and I don't think it tastes good. Like I can understand wrestling an animal that you don't end up like killing or is actually interested in wrestling. Like if you trained an ape to wrestle and then you wrestled the ape like in a friendly manner and it knew not to kill you because they're strong as shit. Mm-hmm. It'd be a different story. But chasing an octopus in the ocean and just to pull it to the surface is rude. Also, who asked the ferret for consent to see your ween? That's the beginning of unsolicited dick pics.
All these animals should wear pants. I'm tired of it.
They're showing off their wiener too many times, and I get it. Mine's smaller than theirs. Even the ferrets, I get it.
It's true. Not for me, though.
You know, proportionally speaking, when people talk about like hung like a horse, the human penis is on average bigger based on body size compared to the horse's penis to their body size.
Is that what people tell themselves? Man, if you got to compare yourself to a horse in terms of like, well, actually, in terms of body, I like, well, all right, man.
Listen.
I'm not saying you.
God, those ferrets, dude.
Hung like a horse, no. Those ferrets. What are you talking about? What do you mean?
I'm just thinking about like the amount of damage they could do to your genitalia in your pants. Yeah. Like, how stupid is that? People really want to have their mangled junk. Would it be beneficial to have a bigger package or a smaller package when a ferret's in there slashing and
I don't
biting
think anything is
around?
good.
Well, I mean, if it's small enough, then they might not get it. But if it's big, then they're getting all of it. But if it's small enough, they might not hit it.
Look, I don't.
They might not be intrigued to go after that part
I
of
am
you.
blocking off brain power, so I don't have to think about this problem. So I'm just gonna.
All right, of these 4 that I listed,
Uh-huh.
which one was the worst?
This one, octopus wrestling. I mean, they're all bad. The eel one was bad, but it's like the octopus is like.
They were very clearly harmed.
Yeah, I mean, the eel was obviously not good for them either. Probably harmed, probably killed. But it's also just like so many octopi that they bring in to do this. All of it's not
I mean, the
good.
greyhounds and the cheetahs were fine.
That's fine.
Nobody got
That's just
hurt.
like random nonsense.
The eels died, obviously. Ferrets, I believe, generally are well kept and not harmed in the process, but made to panic. But octopi and the eels, you know what it is? It's because they were sea creatures and they can't breathe air like us, and we're bringing them up to our level, being stupid.
Yeah, they should know better.
Yeah, they shouldn't come to our air.
Dumb.
How dare they come for our air when we pulled them and made them
Dumb.
try and breathe our air?
Dumb. You know, most of them actually can get air from oxygen.
Oxygen from air.
Oxygen from air. Most of them can. It's that their gills are basically lungs outside the body, so they dry up extremely quickly because of air against those tissues.
And so they lose their functionality because they don't
dry.
have the moisture.
Yeah, and so your lungs inside your body are constantly moist, just in the same way that, a gill would be if it's in, water. But
because that allows for the transition of oxygen to be absorbed into the mucous membrane.
and any evaporation that does occur when air gets in the lungs is recaptured almost instantly as it travels up.
And it's also why it's better to breathe through your nose, because you actually, for one, stop particulates from coming in, but also you don't dry up your windpipe.
I legitimately think that I don't get sick as much anymore because I breathe through my nose more.
I breathe through my nose more, but I still got pneumonia because I blame the only Ryan for making me sick. It's his fault. He's patient zero, not me.
But I think that when it comes down to breathing through my nose, you can train yourself to breathe through your nose. I did it like a year and a half ago now. I just was like, I'm going to breathe. Actually, like 3 years ago now, I was like, I'm just going to breathe. And at night, it was like really annoying because I'd be like, I can't breathe. But even if you feel like it's clogged, you can still breathe plenty fine.
It's all about controlling your heart rate and not panicking. It's why people can hold their breath for longer than, or for 5 minutes or something. It's all about remaining calm, knowing you can do it, and perseverance. Mind over matter.
Trust me, if you pull from your diaphragm, air's going to get in.
If you breathe through your butthole, air's going to get in.
That's true. Breathe through your butthole. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening.
If you have jacuzzas for us, if you think these sports should exist, get out of here. But if you have jacuzzas for us, reddit.com/r/gmfst is where you can post those. You can also give us episode ideas, suggestions, and share with us some fantastic news that you want us to talk about. I know one person got really upset recently that we didn't cover the Formula One thing and the Cadillac thing, but it hadn't released by the time we recorded it. So somebody corrected them and they're like, they had. And I'm like, you don't know when we record. But anyway, go buy merch, store.gmfst.com. Get it before it's gone. Get it or never have it ever in your life. Please sell at my head so I feel less inferior to Mark. I already feel inferior on dick size. I don't want to feel inferior on any other category. Anyway, that's going to do it for the episode. Bye.